Going to the season, I did not expect this to happen. What did I not expect to happen exactly? The Titans to be 5-1 up to this point. In the offseason, although I did not make a video about it, I thought the Titans would have a down year and Texans will win the division. Now, while the Titans could still fall from here, it is pretty clear that they are winning their division and may be a top team in the AFC. At the time, everyone including myself questioned why Ryan Tannehill got nearly $30 million a year. That's come from someone who loves the Dolphins. Yes, he had a good year, but in the playoffs he did not play well at all, which can be deduced to Derrick Henry's amazing play, but still, my point stands. But so far this season, he has proved everyone wrong. Through 6 games, he has 1,590 yards, 15 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions on 68.5% passing and 112.3 QBR. That is just remarkable, and honestly, why didn't I expect this? It's not like their offensive personnel or scheme changed, so it really makes no sense for me to think down on Tannehill and the Titans offense as a whole. Outside of Tannehill, they have AJ Brown, a very talented second-year receiver who has missed a couple games, Jonnu Smith, a young developing tight end, Adam Humphries and Corey Davis at the wide receiver 2 and 3. Oh yeah, that Derrick Henry guy. He's obviously the main component to this Titans' early season dominance. However, this offseason, I was not too high on Henry, because throughout the 2 seasons prior, he'd done majority of his work in the second half, or at least last quarter of the season, so I didn't know if he could sustain his dominance through a whole season. Well, I was clearly wrong. Through 6 games, he has 663 yards and 7 touchdowns on 143 carries, all 3 a league lead. Pretty good if you ask me. Henry can do everything on the football field. He can run through you, around you, and probably over you. Henry is the most dominant and scary running back I've witnessed play the position in a while, since he's the size of a defensive lineman, running like one of the fastest players in the league. Also, the O-line helps him a lot. According to Football Outsiders, they're near the top of every run blocking statistic, as well as pass blocking. But they lost left tackle Taylor Lewan due to a torn ACL in Week 6, which is a huge loss for them, as he's one of the better left tackles in the league. The offense is based around the run and the play action, and is clearly working as Titans are the 5th best rushing team, with 145.2 yards per game, and 4th in points per game with 31.3. Although it is not the most complex style of offense, it does the job very well for the Titans, since their personnel is built for it. Play action and game manager type role, Tannehill plays, brings out his strengths, and allows him to get the ball to his dynamic playmakers, like AJ Brown and Jonnu Smith. Both are incredible red zone targets, and good at the open field as well. Some people may underrate Brown, because he's overshadowed by DK Metcalf from his draft class, but it's clear and obvious that he does not let that get to him, as he has 4 touchdowns in 4 games, and demolished the Steelers last week for 6 catches, 153 yards, and a touchdown. Although the Titans suffered their first loss of the year last week against Pittsburgh, it was a great game where they almost came back, but Stephen Gostkowski missed a 45-yard field goal to tie the game. They still played well. Derrick Henry had a bad game to his standards, with 75 yards and a touchdown. Tannehill had 104.9 QBR, and the team intercepted the Steelers 3 times. Just could not fully capitalize off of the opportunities they were given. But hey, it is near impossible to go undefeated for a whole season, so it was bound to happen at some time. It makes sense that they lost against the Steelers, the hottest team in the NFL right now. Moving on, the Titans defense may not statistically be all that good, but there are some people on that side of the ball that are good football players. To start, there's Harold Landry, who's a young developing pass rusher, along with Jadeveon Clowney on the other side. Now, they have not had a lot of sacks, but as a unit, those two have 23 pressures. Their inside linebacker group are the strongest part of this defense with Jayon Brown and Rashaan Evans, 2 young linebackers who have just played great. Then on the D-line, there's Jeffrey Simmons, their sack leader with 2 sacks, Daquan Jones, their nose tackle, and Jack Crawford, probably the weakest part of their defense, but not terrible. And their secondary has played alright, with 7 interceptions as a unit, with Kevin Byard and Malcolm Butler being the top players in the secondary. They definitely need to improve in that area, whether it is internally or going out and trade for a player. Allegedly, Stephon Gilmore is on the trade block, so maybe the front office will pull the trigger, try to make a move for the former Defense Player of the Year. Their defense is not the strongest unit in the league, but it's definitely not the worst. However, they've definitely been holding them back, which makes their offense have to score a lot of points. While so far it has been working, they need to step it up and get stops when necessary. Mike Vrabel, the head coach, is a defensive-minded coach, as he was a linebacker in the NFL, and so far throughout his tenure as the Titans coach, has led them to having a good defense most of the years. I think they will pick it up from the middle of the pack statistically, top 10 by the end of the season. Because of Mike Vrabel, the pass rushers will definitely play better than they are right now, at least in the sacks category, and if they make a move in the secondary, it'll help a lot. Vrabel is one of the better head coaches in the league, brings a great culture to Tennessee that previous Titans head coaches 100% could not bring. He's very intelligent, knows exactly what the right defensive play call is in most scenarios, and offense coordinator Arthur Smith calls the offense very well, especially with the lack of pass weapons outside of AJ Brown and the inconsistent Jonnu Smith. Although I said he's good, he is still very inconsistent. We really have not seen a team rely this much on a running back in recent years to carry an offense. Although Tannehill plays well for the Titans, it's more or less due to the play calling that comes off of the threat of Derrick Henry running the ball. Now that may sound like a diss to Ryan, but it's not. I think he's talented, just not as good as his stats may make him seem. It is hard to not be that efficient when there's a behemoth of a man behind you that can go 90 yards to the house at any moment in time. Saying that, nothing is wrong with being a system quarterback. If it's working great for your team, why change it? Again, nothing against Tannehill, I like him a lot as a player. Going off of that, when, not if Derrick Henry continues to prove he's the scariest running back in the league, the offense will go to heights not seen in years by the Titans. And Tannehill will continue to play off of him and do his thing getting AJ around the ball, letting him flourish as well. For the Titans to be seen as a top contender, their defense does have to pick it up, but it's not a bad defensive unit, just not as good as it was the previous 2 years. If the Tennessee Titans can keep the run, literally, that they have been on this season, they will be one of the most dominant teams in the AFC, if not the NFL. Watch out, AFC. There may be a new Super Bowl contender coming out of the dark this season. With all that being said, that is it for me, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Fanatic Sports, and thank you guys so much for the support in the last video. Hope you all liked the video. If you did, please subscribe and hit that like button. It only takes like 2 seconds. Also, follow me on Instagram at FanaticSports75 and on Twitter at FanaticSports. Now, before I go, how do you think the Titans will do the rest of the season, and will the defense pick up their struggles?